Hey, hello. Welcome to another episode of Things That Go Bump in the Night. Hey, I just want to talk about here for a few minutes, maybe a little bit longer, about a case. How many of you all know that, there was a movie called About the Exorcist, but there was also a movie called About the Exorcist of Emily Rose. Now, Emily Rose, that movie was based upon a real life story of a girl by the name of Anneliese Michael. Now, Anneliese Michael, this was from Germany. She was a young woman. This happened in the 1970s when this took place. There was a lot of things that came out of what she had endured and what had happened to her. But not go into all the whole bunch of details. It's an interesting read. You could probably find it online just about anywhere, like with anything else. There's books that have been written about it. But for a young woman that all of a sudden that her whole life was she wanted to serve the Lord, and the devil came in and just wreaked havoc in her life. And she actually endured 67 Catholic exorcisms over 10 months. And they were lasting up to 4 hours each. So there was a lot of things that went on. A lot of people thought that she was going through mental problems, and the Catholic Church went back and forth whether or not to perform an exorcism or to be sanctioned to perform an exorcism. That's just the way the Catholics roll. And Pentecostals were a little bit more quick to react. But they actually had her on medication, and it went back and forth. And I think the whoever was in charge of the priest at that time, a cardinal, decided, that she probably needs to be on more drugs. But she herself wanted the exorcism. She did not want to be tormented. She claimed that there was no reason for her to be this way, that she was being tormented, and that it was the devil. And she actually petitioned for herself to go through an exorcism, as well as with her family did. And, a lot of things that had happened during all of this stuff, she would manifest through stuff where she reportedly barked like a dog for days, not just for a little while, but for days. She ate insects, all of a sudden just reached down and snatched one up. She ate spiders. She licked her own pee from the floor. Witnesses claim she spoke with multiple demons. And she was multiple demons, including those, now the spirits named themselves, I'm sure these weren't there, but named themselves Lucifer, Hitler, Nero, and in deep guttural voices. They were caught on chilling audios. You can actually still, I think, pull up some of the audio tapes that are online. But the reality was that she died. She had an autopsy, and it showed that she died of starvation, dehydration at just 23 years of age. So from the time she was 16 to the time she was 23, she endured 7 years of torment, and she went through multiple exorcisms. She refused to eat, even though they tried to get her to eat, and she just eventually emaciated down to 68 pounds, and she had died. Now, the experts in the medical field, they argued that she was likely suffered from a temporal lobe epilepsy and psychosis. And she was known to have epileptic fits. And in fact, that's what a lot of people thought started a lot of this stuff. But you do know that there was a child in the Bible who had epilepsy, was healed. God has healed a lot of people. This exorcism went bad in a little bit, because who knows why, but for some reason she just did not get set free. The priests performed the rituals over and over and over again. And in fact, after she had died, her parents and the clergy was actually charged for negligence in her death. And they actually had to go and testify in court. And they testified in court and about everything that was said, that she wanted to be there. They asked them, why did you perform the exorcism? Because she wanted to be exorcised. It was her will. She wanted that. When she was incoherent, she wanted that. She petitioned for that. Her parents said the same thing. And so it went back and forth. Well, the courts seen that the sincerity of the hearts of all the people that were involved, but still they were sentenced to 6 months in jail and 3 years probation, I think it was, in which they were held accountable for that. Well, that created a consternation for a lot of the Catholic churches, so they came up with different policies implementing on when a exorcism should be performed and when they shouldn't. And in fact, today, it's such an epidemic of people that are in bondage to the occult that the Catholic Church is in a conundrum because they're saying they need about 500 more exorcists that need to be ordained by their clergy and taught how to do it, because they're running into so many problems that they're having waiting lists for people to go through exorcisms. You know, it's still going on in the last days. It's going to get more demonic. That is what we are told. But, you know, her parents, Annalise's parents, thought that she was a saint and has petitioned that she become a saint, and actually dug up her body to see how much decomposing that she had done. I guess if you're a saint, your body's not supposed to decompose, but it was decomposing. And so because it was decomposing, they would not, as a saint. Even today, she has a grave and people put notes and put flowers and everything else like that. She left an impact on the community that she was in there. But also she left an impact on the way the Catholic Church deals with exorcisms and how that they are performed. Thank God for the Holy Ghost. Thank God for discernment. And thank God for the wisdom on high on when to engage with it. Christ himself told us in Mark chapter 16, you can read verses 15 through 21, go into all the streets, cast out devils. That's part of the Great Commission, to cast out devils. In other words, you're going to run across demons. I mean, you've got no choice. You're going to run into them, but you need to be prepared to cast them out. That's exactly what an exorcism is: driving out the devil, driving out demons, driving them out of the whole world is what it said. Go into all the world. When you're talking the world, you're talking church world. You're talking world, you're talking business world. Wherever your world is at, that's where you're at. And if you encountered them, you should be on the ready to cast them out. But hey, so this is a lot of there. I probably will go over a little bit more maybe on the 4 signs that they're actually looking for. They exhibited this. There's actually more signs than that. But, you know, a lot of people think that you have got to have spiritual discernment before you're able to cast out an evil spirit or perform an exorcism. I argue with the point that yes, the Holy Ghost can tell you that's true, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the Holy Ghost has to tell you. He's given us senses that under common sense, through our own eyesight, that if you know the patterns and you see the patterns and they're very common, that everything's associated with that you should be able to recognize it in natural discernment. It's better through supernatural discernment. Do not get me wrong. I'm just saying that we need to be able to recognize the signs. Even if the Holy Ghost will tell us how to deal with it, then we immediately should get into prayer on the best way to handle that. If it just manifests right there, boom, in front of you, deal with it. And you've been given the authority to. But hey, if you all have experienced that, if you like this comment or if you like this type of stuff, hey, leave a comment, subscribe, mash that like button. I really do appreciate it. Hey, thank you all for listening in, and we'll talk with you all later. Bye.